When Paul said, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, Paul understood his audience. That his audience was a bunch of self-righteous Pharisaical Jews who had erected the oral law as their method of obtaining salvation. You see, here's the thing I want to get across here. Paul did not have a problem with the law of God, the Ten Commandments. No. Actually, Paul says, let's take a look at this. Romans 7 and verse 12. He says, wherefore the law, Ten Commandments, is holy, and the commandments holy and just and good. Paul didn't have a problem with the law of God. But he did have a problem with the Jews' oral law, which was fence building around the law of God. Jesus did not have a problem with the law of God. Now, a lot of religious people, you almost get the impression that he did. You hear these preachers up there, well, the law's been abolished. It's been fulfilled. It's been nailed to the cross. We're not under the law. Grace plus nothing. There's nothing you must do. Just receive and believe. And you almost get the impression that preachers have a problem with the law of God. Well, Jesus did not have a problem with the law, his Father's commandments. Jesus did have a problem with the oral law of the Jews, the tradition of the elders, which was fence building around hundreds of additional laws added to the Ten Commandments, referred to as the tradition of the elders or the oral law. In Mark 7 and verse 9, Jesus said this. He said unto them, full well you reject the commandments of God, that you may keep your own traditions. These self-righteous nuts had actually put their interpretation, the oral law, on a par with the law of God. That it was just as important as the Ten Commandments, their interpretation of the law, this fence building around the law of God. That's how closely they valued their oral law. And when Jesus came along and just dismissed it, well, it got him killed. It got him killed. He said, look, you reject the commandments of God that you may keep your own traditions, your method of getting right with God. And again, I consider there was another story when Jesus' disciples were walking through a field of corn on a Sabbath day. And as they walked through, they sort of took their fingers and just rubbed off some kernels of corn and popped it in their mouths. And, a little bit hungry or whatever, and just popped a few kernels of corn in their mouth. And the Pharisees looked and said, they're harvesting. They're doing that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day. Well, where in the law does it say you can't do that on the Sabbath day? There is nothing. It was their interpretation of the law. It was the oral law. It was the fence building around the law of God. That they had added hundreds of additional laws to achieve their own self-righteousness.